Welcome back, Boxcar Media. Today on my way home from work, I was listening to some music, and the song Dinosaur came on by Hank Williams Jr. Many of you are familiar with that song, and it just made me think, It got me thinking. I have a long commute, so I just wanted to share some ideas with you, some things that I took from the song that I think are applicable today. Because softening masculinity isn't anything new. It's even louder now. But the song is about a man who felt like he didn't fit into the modern culture anymore. That the way masculinity was being reframed and redefined just didn't meet his standards as a man. And I resonated with that. I was driving and I felt it. It hit me. Because I remember when this shift started happening. There were plenty of times when I had to stand on principle, stand on what I stood for, and came against what it was that the culture, the education system was trying to push into my home and into my family. I remember in one instance when my son came home, he was a sophomore in high school, and he came home with the brochure with about 18 pronouns that the school administration wanted him to memorize. I took the brochure and tore it up and told him to tell the faculty to call me if they had a problem with it. Because I wasn't about to allow my son to be indoctrinated into this modern way of thinking, to weaken his position and confuse him as a man, as a young man. You see, the modern culture and the way society's been going, it's been progressively getting worse and worse and worse, and especially for us men. We are told that our masculinity is toxic. We're told to be more agreeable than to stand for what is true. We are told that we need to create safe spaces for people to express themselves. And that song was released back in 1980, 45 years ago. And it's true then, and it's definitely true now. You see, Hank noticed the shift in the culture. He noticed the direction that the culture was going. And that song was calling it out. That song was recognizing that, hey, we're going in the direction that I don't fit in. We're going in the direction that I don't feel comfortable in. My manhood, my masculinity doesn't resonate with the direction the culture is going. And you see, it's even stronger now. It's even stronger today. I see things that would never happen 20 years ago. Things in the school system, even in churches where the services are tailored around women, tailored to serve and recruit and draw and retain women. Where's the masculinity in the church today? Now, I don't want to start critiquing the church. That's not my job. That's not who I am. The church is the bride of Christ, and Christ will deal with her. But in modern culture, modern society, how do men get rewarded? They get rewarded by being agreeable. They get rewarded by being soft and trying to fit in, as opposed to standing on truth and conviction. As a father, I did my best to try to instill these principles in my sons. I want them to be men, raised by a man. Sometimes it gets uncomfortable standing on what you believe to be true. But as men, we must foster an unbreakable spirit. We must have a mindset that doesn't compromise with any cultural trends or so-called societal norms. Because if we're truthful, men are being praised for being passive, being manageable, being easily directed, being spineless, and not standing on their convictions. You know, when I see these pictures and depictions of the Christ. And I see this androgynous figure draped in silk robes and glowing pale skin with manicured fingers. It disgusts me. Because the Jesus of the Bible was masculine. A woodworker in his day was chopping down trees by hand, dragging them hundreds of pounds to his workshop, milling the lumber by hand, building things that created calluses and a strong body. He called out weakness, called out lies, not fearing the consequences. Now, this is the standard of manhood. The standard of manhood. And it's safe to follow. And it may get you in trouble. It may not make you popular amongst the modern culture, the society we live in today. But you could stand on truth and be confident that you will be embraced when it's that time. So how do you maintain your masculinity in this day and age? How do you stay solid? How do you make sure that you're not conforming to this weak version of what masculinity and manhood looks like today? Because a man who constantly wants to be liked will be liked by no one. A man who wants to be palatable to everyone will be forgettable. Remember that. So I want to give a few pointers that I recognized in my own life that keeps my masculinity intact. And the first and foremost is your connection with the Father. You got to have that connection. You got to have that open communication line where your masculinity can be defined by God Himself. How is that? By following the Christ. I'm not a perfect example of that, far from it. But I acknowledge the existence of who He is. I'm familiarizing myself with how He moved, how He communicated in His day, and how He dealt with lies and falsehood and weakness in His time. Now, I would say the one thing you got to do after you get your spiritual life correct, because see, the spiritual life, the spirit is the software that you download into your mind. That's the software, that's your operating system, and this is the hardware. Without the software, the hardware is useless. You'll be easily swayed and convinced and just going with the times. And going with the times and trying to be liked and being palatable to everybody is what creates weak men. The desire to be liked by everyone is housed in the minds of weak men. You're not going to be liked by everyone. There's going to be people that you make uncomfortable because you stand on conviction, you stand on truth, you stand on your principles, your ethics, your morals, and you don't compromise them for no one. So, one of the things that I really believe will keep you in your masculine frame is to keep your standards visible. Set your boundaries. Set the respect level. And you do that by respecting yourself first. Respect is overflow from respecting yourself. It's not something you earn with other people. It's something that you integrate within yourself first. When you respect yourself, your respect and comes with your presence. People recognize men who respect themselves, and by default, they will respect you. Now, if there's repeated disrespect, there's not going to be a conversation. There's going to be a consequence. You got to maintain your self-respect, and in return, people will respect you. Another thing I would say is build a disciplined routine, right? You wake up with purpose. You wake up with purpose. I remember my brother used to tell me, a man always wakes up with the plan, No matter how minimal that plan is. Sometimes the plan was just to get up, clean his room, make his bed, and go out and wash his car, take care of some errands, whatever it was. But it was never just waking up and not knowing what to do with the day. Your time is precious, and utilize it. Wake up with the plan and then execute. Another thing I think you can do to strengthen your masculine frame is to reduce the need for approval. Like I said before, not everybody's gonna like you. But the ones that do are gonna understand that you're a man who stands for something. You're a man that, regardless of how societal norms and how culture tries to shift and redefine masculinity, you're unwavering. You ain't going nowhere. You know what it is, and you're gonna stand on it. Another way how you can stay within your masculine frame is stay connected to responsibility. Stay connected to your responsibility because it'll protect your mind. Work, faith, family, skill set, your responsibility, stay connected to them. That's a life of discipline, and it'll protect you from the frivolous rabbit holes that some men find themselves in. Another thing I would say is audit your influences, because if your intake is weak, your output is going to be weak. Audit what influences you. Take an inventory of the things that you ingest through the ear gate, eye gate, mind gate, whatever it is, the information, the things that you introduce to yourself. Make sure that they're strong and support and reinforce what it is that you believe. And lastly, I would say refuse to compromise yourself to fit in and be comfortable. Sometimes it's going to be lonely. Sometimes you're going to find yourself by yourself, and that's okay. But don't ever compromise yourself as a man to fit in with others, with other weak men. Because the moment you refuse to conform, they're going to call you hard-headed and out of touch and old and outdated. But that's not a flaw. That's a sign that you still have a spine. This is Boxcar Media, and I'll see you on the next one.
Thank you for joining us. We hope today's episode has sparked your curiosity and offered you new insights into the human experience. If you enjoyed the episode, please consider subscribing and sharing it with others who might find value in our content. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so feel free to leave a comment and a thumbs up. Until next time, keep exploring, reflecting, and finding meaning in your own unique journey. Safe travels, and we'll see you on the next episode.